right, so it was a very, very hot day here in Indiana. It was like 92 degrees and like 100% humidity. It's not fun outside. But we got our work day in. As you can see, I got the monster truck in the background here. I'll show you what we got going on with it. So, last night I mounted the fuel filter and the Aeromotive fuel pump we're currently using right now. I made a mounting plate for that. I mounted it in there, which I had to take all the fuel lines off. So I just did a big order online and ordered some new fuel lines to go from here to here to here and stuff. So I'm waiting all that to come in. Now when we had it out in the field and I did a donut, if you watched the video before, the engine got a little warm. I wasn't sure if it would. Obviously that is a small radiator for this big engine. So the good news is I got two radiators back to back. I was going to use that back radiator for this air to water intercooler right here. I was going to try to cool that water a little bit, but I don't think we're going to use it for that anymore. We're going to try to tie these two radiators together, the front and the rear, and we're going to just double our capacity. And you really can't even see what's going on there. But they're tucked in there. Should keep that engine pretty cool. So I just don't want to have to keep an eye on the engine temperature. It should be something where you just flat don't worry about it. So that's what I'm working on now. I got to pop those radiators out of there. I'm going to take them to my cousin Sean. He's going to weld some fittings on the side of them, and then I'll show you guys putting them back together. One thing that when I was driving it that I wasn't satisfied about was the power steering for the front. The power steering is ran off of this stock Dodge power steering pump right now. And we got some ugly looking adapter fittings to get the hydraulic lines that were on the chassis hooked to it for right now. And I really wanted to clean them up. So what I did is I went on the interwebs and I bought the fitting that goes in this power steering pump on the pressure side that goes to this hose right here, which is a number 6 AN, or I think it's a 3/8. But anyhow, so that fitting is right over here. This fitting right here. Power steering adapter from this to number 6 AN. So I got that. And one of the things the old school guys told me if I wanted to make this thing steer better with that stock pump is when they all ran stock Chevy pumps, they took this plug out of the back of the pump, and there's a piston right here that goes in front of it to the stock power steering pump on a Chevy, and they had a name for them, but I can't remember what it was. But anyhow, they said you take this out and you drill this hole in this fitting here out bigger. So I did. I took it out of a spare pump I had, and I drilled the thing out to the size of the hole in this fitting I got here. You can't see it. But anyhow, it's drilled to that size right there is now this size right here. So there's no restriction. This thing had a tiny hole in it before. So now it's bigger, it should flow more. Maybe it'll help the truck steer. It actually did really well for a stock power steering pump because it's literally powering these hydraulic cylinders right here. One on each side. And I wasn't sure a stock power steering pump was going to do that. It did pretty well, but it wasn't fast enough for my liking, and it wasn't easy enough. If Katie's going to get in this thing and drive it, or even Bevy, we got to make this easy to drive, you know, because they're just not as strong as some of us. So anyhow, I'm going to put those new fittings in there and hook that hose up now. So another hot day here in Indiana. I say that all the time because it's been hot every day. But I'm getting back in the shop here. I got a lot of stuff that I want to do to this thing, just clean things up. Last night I took the fitting out of the back of this power steering pump and I drilled it out. And I got it all back in there. So we're going to see if this old stock Dodge power steering pump will make that steering turn a little faster and a little easier. This is the return line. There's a line out the back of the injection pump that went and teed into it. I want to do away with this line right here and just come right into this block on this side, and it'll just clean things up a lot. So that's on the list. What I just got done doing is I replaced this pipe right here, and I'll find the old one. This was the pipe off of that pulling truck that I parted this year, and it had this old semi boot on it, and it was stuck down in that intercooler right there. So, and this is all aluminized exhaust pipe that's just welded. It's slipped in connectors, and I don't necessarily like the looks of it or the functionality. So I replaced it with this right here. This pipe was on my pulling truck, my personal truck, ever since I put watered air on it in 2010 or 12, whenever it was watered air. This is 3.5 inch aluminized pipe. It's got a little nicer welds in it. It isn't a sliding connector. It's got a barb around the end of it here. And so I'm complete 3.5 inch all the way to this intercooler, and then it jumps up with this adapter down into this intercooler at 4 inch. So that cleaned it up a lot. Much more satisfied with that pipe than this one here and the connectors. So the next thing is I took this pipe off of the other side of the engine, coming out of the turbo into the intercooler. It's got this stainless elbow, which is very, very nice on it. But I think I'm going to end up doing away with this stainless elbow and this big curvy looking pipe, because I have the other pipe off of my puller, and I think it would work much better having this pipe on that side and have all 3.5 inch out of the turbo to an adapter to go down into that 4 inch intercooler. So that's what I'm going to work on next here. So I got this return line from this pump right here. I just made this. I put a new piece of AN hose in it, which is not fun. If you guys have ever put these ends on, it's not fun. But it's done anyhow. Hopefully it doesn't leak. I want to put this on right here. And that should clean things up a lot. That'll get from point A to point B. I made it just a little long because I'd rather have it a little longer and then have to try to stretch it, because that won't work very well. So anyhow, that's going to clean that up a little bit. I want to zip tie this back in here. One of the reasons I'm cleaning this thing up a little is I got to set up for a podcast here in a little bit. The Throttle Out Monster Truck podcast. Austin Tweedy, his woman Harley Joe, they do a podcast on YouTube. I got it actually playing in the shop right now. So check it out. Austin Tweedy has been in the monster truck industry for his years. His dad drives for Bigfoot. He worked for Monster Jam, whatnot. He invited me to be on this podcast, which is awesome, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you, Austin, if you watch this. Wants to know more about this newest diesel monster truck that's getting put together. So that's this thing right here. We're going to tell him kind of what our plans are and the background of how I grew up around monster trucks and what we got planned for this thing and what it is and why I'm doing it, and who knows what questions I'll have to answer on there. So go check out the Throttle Out podcast on YouTube. So Kyle's mom showed up to help us tonight.
I'm the supervisor.
Yeah, we needed a supervisor. So back working on the monster truck here. Got the bedside off, as you can see still. Got intercooler piping, getting that finished up. Got this pipe on the other side made up. I just made a new aluminum pipe. It's just going to look a lot better, be a lot cleaner. Kyle's helping put the radiators back in. I yanked those out the other night. We put fittings on each side of the radiator, which is very hard to see here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. So my cousin Sean at SS Performance welded his fittings in. We're going to tie those radiators together. That'll help cool the engine. That'll double the cooling capacity. So if we're out whipping some nasty donuts, she doesn't get warm again, huh, Kyle?
That's right.
Do you like donuts?
I do like donuts.
All kinds of donuts?
Not the food ones.
Okay. So we got a display coming up down at Rochester Iron and Metal in Logansport. We got to have it together Thursday for, and then we're going to get it out and test it with the big tires and see if the transmission's working right. All right, we made some headway on this thing. Thanks for your help, Kyle.
No problem.
You are just awesome on this camera, you know.
I know.
You really liven the attitude up around here. So, as you can see, we got the other intercooler pipe all attached. Kyle did a fantastic job with that. That looks nice. And we got the radiators back in it. They're hooked up. We're waiting for our lines to come from Summit. Instead of shipping from Ohio like normally Summit does, they come from Nevada. So they're on their way, I guess. So we gotta put 2 lines to connect the 2 radiators in there, just AN fittings at the top. The bottoms are hooked up, and then we gotta get our fittings when some order gets here and hook up the fuel lines again. And we're on the road to making it run again here. Another thing I want to do is I want to put an air fuel controller on top of the injection pump here, like a stock mechanical P pump has on it, to help bring the fuel in a lot easier when you touch the pedal, so it don't just flood and smoke real bad like it was out in the field. And that's just kind of how you tune these things, and maybe we can make it a little bit happier on lighting and everything. And we actually boost checked it. We put a boost checker on it, which you guys will see sometime, and it doesn't have any boost leaks. So
Success.
that is success, Kyle. That's all you're used to, isn't it?
Yep, that's what I strive for.
Well, thanks for your help.
No problem.
All right, guys, so it's Saturday last night. Kyle showed up and helped a little bit. We got the radiators in, and I think I showed you what we did. He was a big help. We're just trying to knock some stuff off the list on this thing a little at a time whenever we get a couple hours here or there. So I got a couple hours today to mess with this. One thing I really needed to do is I needed to move the rear steering switch in the cab of the truck. It's really hard where it's at to show you what's going on up there, but I will as I'm getting it mounted up. So a thing that a lot of the new drivers are doing, and with these race trucks and whatever, is they're actually making a handle to mount them, to where you can grab a hold of the handle when you're driving and have something to hold on to while you're holding the steering wheel as well. And then you just use your thumb to flip back and forth on this self-centering toggle switch right here. So I actually just fabbed this up. It is not done, but I pulled the toggle switch out of the truck, and I'm making myself a handle where I can weld it up in the cab there. So that's what I'm kind of tinkering with. Got to do that yet. I want to get that moved up there so Hunter has more room for his feet when he's riding around in the car seat more than anything, and it gives me something else to hold on to in there to just make things a lot more comfortable. The next thing is then we got to finish the fuel system on this once the new fuel fittings get here from Summit. So got to get fuel from here and here out of this filter, and got to hook up the backside of the pump. It's all stuff that we had kind of cobbled together in a hurry out of hydraulic line, what was laying around before, just trying to clean things up a lot. Put an AFC controller on the injection pump right here. It's called an air fuel controller. So what it does is, as you're touching the throttle pedal on these injection pumps, this is kind of like a carbureted Chevy engine, but it's all mechanical, these pumps are. But anyhow, as you're pushing down on the throttle pedal, it's moving a rack in this pump, which is giving more fuel to the injectors, which is making the truck smoke more, basically. This makes it to where until boost starts coming on, you can't over fuel it too awful hard. This air fuel controller I put on, this is a stock one off of a 97 12 valve truck. But anyhow, I put that on. It'll have to have boost in it before it allows the rack and the pump to start moving drastically. It'll keep some fuel off of it. It should make it light easier for now. Michael Landis is going to modify us one of these air fuel controllers, which will be even better. But for now, I just put a stock one back on it. It's kind of nice just being able to put stock stuff on an engine, because it's readily available. And if you're at a race or anything like that and you need a part, there's probably a 12 valve Cummins sitting out in the parking lot somewhere. So, but anyhow, little update what's going on. We're going to keep working on this thing. So finally, our Summit Racing order showed up here. Pretty happy to see it. Haven't been able to make a whole lot of progress waiting on all these fittings. So got a lot of vibrant fittings there for fuel. Got to get that finished up. Got a Hans device here. Helmet's on back order, so I don't know if I'm going to put it on a different helmet for right now or what I'm going to do. But anyhow, at least I got that. So take this thing out and rip on it. At least worry about maybe not getting whiplash or breaking my neck as bad. So for this evening, we're going to work on the fuel system here, I guess, and maybe try to get it hooked back up. Hey, look who showed up! So a little progress here. Throttle out show on in the background still. Fuel lines done. I routed it as nicely as I could. It's kind of tight spaces. I think it'll work out all right. Much nicer than what it was. Still not perfect, but it made do with what I had again. So another fuel line routed here. It's a nice multi-duty line hose. So that's all stuff that's done. Antifreeze, got, if you look in there, that black hose right in there, that connects the 2 radiators. And it's connected on both ends. So those radiators are in parallel now. So hopefully that helps keep the engine cooler. Just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, and then we're gonna get this thing back out. I just set the shocks. I raised the suspension height a little bit. I upped the pressure in the rear, because we think the rear of this thing's just quite a bit heavier than what everybody's thinking it is. We got to get it on a scale yet, but I checked all the fluid in the diffs and the planetaries and the drop box, because I honestly hadn't did that since we got it, and I didn't want to get it out and drive it much more. So I had to put some oil in some things. So we're going to get it out, drive it around, warm it up a little bit. Well, she runs. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's much easier.
You don't need to get the big tires on it.
So that was tune 1 in the transmission. He's got it set to where if it was in a pickup truck, it goes to 3rd gear at 99 mile an hour. It went to 3rd gear at least once. So it just takes a while. We're probably going to lower that, but we really don't know until we get the big tires on it. It is shifting a lot better than it was. The engine wasn't over 170 when I got out of it, which is cool. So that's good news. Definitely getting her warm, get all the handprints and stuff burn off of everything we've touched. So. What's tune 2?
Well, it turns the overdrive on, or not overdrive, 3rd gear a lot sooner, so.
It should shift faster. Let's try that. Definitely shifts a lot faster, but still hard to tell with the gearing not being right. It is one noisy son of a gun. Just over So this thing still has an electric water pump on it, and it's a stock replacement electric water pump, and I am not a fan of them. I had a couple of them go bad in my puller, and they just don't move water like a stock belt-driven pump does. But the nice thing is you can shut it off and let it cool down like this. I have plans of putting a belt-driven pump on it. That could be part of its problem. It's still getting warm, or it could have just had air in the system too. But so anyhow, it purged a bunch of antifreeze out. Like Bevy says, we need to make a catch can, put on it. That's on the list. I screwed up when I put a valve cover gasket on back here and pinched it. So it's leaking some oil out of back here. But I retorqued the head when it was really, really hot. Kind of like it is now. And it's sealed down a lot better. And I don't think the head gasket's leaking like it was. It's just seeping maybe just a little. That's livable for now, so. Anyhow, so we at least got it out. It can get cleaned up tomorrow. It's got a display to do Friday and Saturday down at Rochester Iron and Metal, Logan Sport. So check out those Rochester and Iron and Metal places, because you never know when this thing will show up, because he helped us out with some parts on the semi-trailer and stuff. And he's our neighbor, and they do us a lot of favors. They're pretty cool guys. So now Bevy's going to get Merica out and see if it should be warmed up. We're going to see if its problems are solved. The Outlaw's loaded in the trailer here. It's kind of a hectic day, pretty hot. Had a couple jobs we did today. Got the little Bob Kitty loaded. It's not quite a full cat, it's just part of one, so it's Bob Kitty. But that's how we're going to load the tires back up. Tires are up there in the front. Kind of got a hillbilly contraption to keep them put, but it works. So there wasn't a whole lot of action in this video as far as events or anything like that. Just did some testing out back at the shop and that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And keep watching the videos. I think we're going to have a couple shows in September here. It's going to go and run for the first time. And we're definitely going to have some more testing with the big tires on before then, because we got to get it to where it lights a little easier, and just to make sure we're going to be somewhat competitive. So thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.